Oh, Bonimino. Hey, hey.
Tangoza na bomo tangu makasi za na nzoto yebisa fami tolingaka bango liboso bawa yebisa boyoyo bokumisaka ye ekisa lolango na yo kozela te bakufa o nsimo ya kotanda mosolo kozela te bakoma na bokono olakisa lolango na yo oh, oh, oh. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, 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 yo. Tangoza na bomoi lakisa bango motindokani yolingaka bango yolelaka motema baoyo betelaka tolo yebisa bango boye jimukunanga bikola be oh nakupenda mumezolange fami nalingi bino kulanga yo 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 kozela te bakoma na bokono polakisa lolango na yo kozela te bawa sima otanda wolo na lilita yango wana lelo yebisa bango boye chimukuna na bikola be oh yo ye ye minanga tesio tongekini ayo mumezolange fami nalingi bino chimukuna na bikola be nakupenda mumezolange fami nalingi bino tesio tongekini
Mendibe
tangwango yo yakolakisa lolango kozela te bakende na paradiso kozela te babunga na lifelo tangoza na bomo elakisa yebisa lolango na yo yebisa bango
Chimukunanga bikola be
oh oh
nakupenda
aye ye mizolange fami nalingi bino
Chimukunanga
bikola be
nakupenda
oh ma mizolange fami nalingi bino oh
Chimukunanga bikola be
mama memo
nakupenda
we mizolange fami nalingi bino
Chimukunanga
bikola be
The Story of Elizabeth by Zola Bantu, Episode 1, Department of Genie Creators of Humans. Location, Astral World, Sector 7. The leader entity of Sector 7 approaches Sector 7 Human Lab Room. Entity A and B responsible of the lab immediately stand up to greet him. Entity A says,
Zola, sir.
Entity B says,
Zola, sir.
Leader Entity stands at the center of the lab office by the map of the dome. Entity A and B join him.
Zola, everyone. All right, so what do we have for today?
Sir, preparation for the departure of spirit, number 896, Miss Elizabeth for the 600th reincarnation to Earth.
Image of Spirit 896 appears digitally on the screen for all to see.
600th reincarnation, you say?
Yes, sir.
All right. Walk me through her life. Put her up on the screen.
Coming right up, sir.
Elizabeth's life appears on the screen. Entity B speaks.
Her previous recent reincarnation name was Naomi. Next reincarnation name to be updated, but so far she has reincarnated 599 times, 300 in the black race, 200 in the mixed race, 99 times in the Caucasian race. Her previous reincarnation as Naomi was in the black race. She was vibrating in the third dimension at the time of death.
Wait a minute. 599 reincarnations, and she's still in the third dimension?
Yes, sir.
These spirits don't want to learn. They keep coming back and going back.
According to the law, sir, they can't rise in such low frequencies.
Yes, sir. Karmic body percentage charge 33% of previous life.
What charges exactly?
Very stubborn personality. Pleasures of the flesh, materialism, disobedience, and hate. Ignoring her purpose, abortion, etc.
You are quite right. Sadly, the earth is decomposing. Proceed. Wait, slow down. She's been blocking other spirits from having a life experience?
As well. So that takes us basically to our class today, class 7, which is the true Bantu Hebrew Israelites, and also the foe of the Hebrew Bantu Israelites. So before we begin, my dear brothers and sisters, how many of you in here know the story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo? Who knows? Has anybody heard of this story before? If you have, you can unmute your mic. The story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo. It's an amazing story told by an African. It's an African riddle. It's an amazing story of which is told of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo. Does anybody know it? I want to say my greetings to Mwatu Wangomba, who has joined us on our YouTube live. Brother Brahima, you know of the story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo? Brother Brahima from Sierra Leone. Brother Brahima, you there? No, Brother Brahima does not know. What about you, Brother Frederick? You know the story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo? Brother Frederick? What about you, Brother Imakumbuli?
No, I didn't know the story. Sorry about that.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. I'll definitely tell the story. Well, so this story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo, it's a very amazing story told by African ancestors. It has a lot of lessons in it, and I'm going to be able to tell you the story now. So the story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo, it's an amazing story. Zivai, by Zivai Tsisike. Yes, Brother Zivai.
Good day.
Good day, Brother
Hello,
Zivai.
classmates. Yes. It reminds me of a painting, a large wall painting that was at the kids' library when we were growing up. So
Really?
some years ago. I don't know if it's
Wow.
still there.
Wow.
But according to that story, I don't know if I should share it.
No, don't share it. I'll share it. If you share it,
Yeah, but I think
you think you know the
just
story,
by
right?
looking at this picture, I'm taken more than 25 years ago. When
Wow.
I was still in that junior library. Yeah, it's
Wow.
exactly the story. But I'll be
Wow.
happy to listen to it
Wow.
again.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'll get back to you, Brother Zivai. Maybe you can tell us the wisdom behind the story after I finish it. Well, okay. So the story of the tortoise, the elephant, and the hippo is an amazing story told by African ancestors. So the tortoise was basically moving around the jungle. He met Mr. Elephant. Tortoise is like, Mr. Elephant, you know, I'm stronger than you. I know you're big and all that, but I'm stronger than you. And if you have, I can tie you a rope and pull you. Because I'm stronger than you. You have no chance on me. Mr. Elephant said, Tortoise, you a small animal like you think you can play around with me? You think you're stronger than me? Tortoise says, okay, let me prove to you. Let me go back to the jungle. I'm gonna get a rope and I'm going to tie you on the rope, and then I'm going to pull you and you're gonna pull me. Let's find out who is going to pull the other. Elephant said, really? You can pull me? Okay, bring it on. Tortoise goes to the jungle and passes by the river. He goes to the river, he meets Hippo, Thomas. He said, Mr. Hippo, I know you are fat and big and everything and huge, but I'm stronger than you. You have no chance on me. If I tie you a rope and I pull, you pull. I'm telling you, I'm gonna take you out of the water. You have no chance on me. Mr. Hippo says, Tortoise, you are barely a small seed on the ground. You think you have any chance of pulling me? You, Tortoise, never. Tortoise said, Mr. Hippo, I'm telling you, I'm stronger than you. I can pull you. Hippo said, okay, bring it on. Tortoise said, okay, let me go to the jungle and get a rope, and I'm gonna be able to tie you, and then we'll pull and let's see. Mr. Tortoise goes to the jungle. He gets a long rope. He ties the elephant. He takes the same rope. He takes it to the river. He ties the hippo. And then he tells the hippo, pull. And the elephant, pull. Let's see. The hippo and the elephant begin to pull. The elephant begins to say, my God. So this tortoise, I can't even pull him. The elephant tried to pull. The hippo also on the other side began to pull. What is this? This small tortoise here, I can't even pull him. What is this? So there was that war, like a tug of war between the elephant and the hippo, and the tortoise was right in the middle, hidden somewhere. The elephant tried to pull. The hippo tried to pull. It wasn't working. Up to the point where the elephant said, no. I think this tortoise, maybe he's very stronger than me. Let me go and find out from this tortoise. How does he get this strength from? The elephant began to walk. The hippo also came out of the water, said, no. I have to find out exactly how strong this tortoise is. He came out. All of a sudden, the elephant and the hippo meet. The elephant tells the hippo, Mr. Hippo, you know, the tortoise has been pulling me. I don't know how he got the strength to pull me. A small tortoise pulling me. How? The hippo said, tortoise has been pulling you. Tortoise has been pulling me too. A small tortoise is pulling me. And they discovered that they are all attached to one rope which has been pulling each other. At the meantime, the tortoise was there enjoying and laughing when the elephant and the hippo were busy pulling each other. But Azivai, if you can jump in right now, but Azivai, I think maybe you remember the story, but Azivai, if you can jump in to tell us the wisdom behind this this story. But Azivai, Chitsike.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really taking me back because the story I never heard it, I never read it, but I just saw the pictures that were telling the story. So now connecting those pictures with the story that you just related was just something. Yeah, but in terms of the wisdom behind it, I think it talks about people who are prone or who have tendencies of planting seeds of hate between people, if I may call it.
Very
Yes,
interesting.
that's what I can. Yeah, in short, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, brother Sivai. Let's have Miss Catherine. Miss Catherine, what are your thoughts on this story? Miss Catherine. Yeah, Miss Catherine, you there?
Hi there, yes, I'm here. Sorry, I actually started speaking and forgot to unmute my mic. Sorry about that.
Go on, Miss Catherine. Yeah.
Well, I actually agree with the previous speaker who also said that now that I do think it's like that as well, because I mean, the biggest, if we look at on terms of the story, it's basically, I see it the same way is to, planting a seed to, make a lot of division between everyone.
Wow. Very impressive, Miss Catherine, for that. Let's have Brother Mandisi Sanda. Brother Mandisi, what are your thoughts in a minute on this?
I think the tortoise is just creating fight between the two here.
Wow. Very interesting, Brother Mandisi. Brother Brahima in Sierra Leone. Brother Brahima, you there? Okay, let's have Brother Imakumbuli in Zambia. Brother Imakumbuli, what are your thoughts?
I think just to add on, it just tells us that Toto is actually, he understood his weaknesses in terms of his physical stature. So after he understood himself, you see, then he looked around and he saw that there are some creatures that are bigger than the tortoise, than himself. So he uses intelligence, to take advantage of their ignorance.
Very, very interesting. Very, very impressive, Brother Imakumbuli.
So, according to my understanding, I think it teaches us that, there are always people that are going to use their intelligence, their intellectual capacity, to manipulate, the harmony or the living of other people in the society.
Very interesting, Brother Imakumbuli. Let's have Brother Frederick, and then we'll have Brother Konjeni. I don't know if Brother Konjeni followed the story. Brother Frederick, if you're able to speak, yeah.
Yeah, actually, the last brother pretty much said just about what I was about to say. The intellect of the tortoise played tricks on the muscles. I mean, it's actually awesome. The analogy of the picture here, that something so small can get something so big to work against each other.
Wow.
And the mindset of the people, to the point that we need to go back to the smallest things, to realize that our intelligence is not our muscles, That's what I got out of the story. Thanks for the story, too.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Brother Frederick. Brother Jesse in the UK, what are your thoughts, Brother Jesse?
I think, yeah, the same thing as the previous one. The intellect always will overcome the physical strength, because the intellect never dies, but the physical strength one day can die. So it's better to be smarter than stronger physically.
Very
so I think this is
very interesting.
This is the meaning of the story.
Wow, thank you for that, Brother Jesse. Brother Konjeni, what are your thoughts? Is there any scenario in African life or African history where we can apply this story, Brother Konjeni?
Hi, gents. I think my analogy of this is that you find that both the hippo and the elephant are both large creatures, and both of them are fighting over the same thing, but the guy who's benefiting the most out of this is the tortoise, is able to walk on the thing Even
interesting.
though he is not the fastest, he's not the strongest, but
My
yet he
God.
has dominion over both by instigating the two to fight with one another.
Wow.
And I think us as Africans, we are those two larger creatures that are being played by everybody else in the world, who may not be smarter, may not be quicker, they may not be more intellectual than us, but
Wow.
yet they've got dominance over us because we
My
keep fighting
God.
fighting between ourselves.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant, Brother Kunjeni.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Mr. Ndai, what are your thoughts, Mr. Ndai?
Hello, am I audible? Well, I believe that I agree with what my brothers and sisters have said, especially what the previous brother who spoke just said as well, that the tortoise was the one sowing seeds of deception to cause division between the elephant and the hippo, and that the elephant and the hippo represent Africa in the real world, and how Africa has been divided. I mean, there's so much division between us, and yet we are so much alike. But because of the deception, we don't have unity anymore.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Mr. Ndai. You know, this story is absolutely amazing because it tells a lot. Because if you look at the African history, even the history of humanity, you see that the strategy, especially of the colonizers, was to divide and conquer. They can only conquer when they divide people. Division and conquer has been number one strategy for every elite to basically take over a certain situation. They will bring a brother and a brother against each other, a tribe and a tribe against each other. If I look at this picture, my dear brothers and sisters, I can see majority versus opposition. In my country of Congo, the majority and opposition are pulling each other while the investors are stealing the resources. The Chinese and Europeans are stealing the resources. Majority and opposition are waiting for the elections, pulling each other. But the foreigners and the investors are stealing. There is this debate today you see of black and white, racism. You're always hating the white, the light skin. The light skin is hating the black skin. They have created that whole pulling, racism. Black and white is pulling each other. You're looking at the race. You're fighting as races, but the bigger people are actually enjoying the division and profiting from it. In Africa, the biggest division is within the tribes. They have divided us in tribes. Our tribes were our strength because our differences were our strengths, because we had the fishing tribe, the army tribe. So they used our tribes to divide us, and then they are profiting from it. If I look at this, I see also Africans on the continent and African Americans in America. There is always that division between Africans on the continent and Africans abroad. The Africans who are in America are not educated about the issues of Africa. Many of them are educated differently. I was even shocked once I came to know that some African Americans think that in Africa we eat people. So that division, we keep pulling on each other, but the tortoise is enjoying life. The biggest illustration I can give you on this divide and conquer is what happened in the Rwanda genocide. After the Berlin Conference, you know that before the Berlin Conference, when Hitler took over the world, Burundi was basically run by the Germans. But after the Berlin Conference, they gave that part to the Belgium. The Belgium arrived in Rwanda. They began to tell the Tutsis that the Hutus, you are better than the Hutus. You are tall, you are light-skinned, you have a very beautiful appearance. Those Hutus have to be your slaves. You cannot be masters. You have to be the masters. What happened? The Tutsis began to hate on the Hutus, up to the point where there was so much hate, and you know what happened? The genocide. 900,000 people died. Why? The Hutus and the Tutsis were pulling each other. The tortoise, who was Belgium, and the international community was right in the middle watching all this thing. Today we are seeing Ukraine versus Russia. I like what Brother Frederick said last time. It's a distraction. Maybe it is. We're pulling each other. Today on the news, we even forgot that COVID-19 exists. Why? Because Russia has invaded Ukraine. Distractions. So we have to be able to know as Africans, if we want to move forward, are we in this divide and conquer? It is very, very important, my dear brothers and sisters. Now, moving on to our lecture today, basically on the class 7. The first civilization began around 27,000 BC, and it lasted up to 15,000 BC. Because a human being is a spirit that lives in a physical body. The body of Brother Congeni, that is not Brother Congeni, no. Brother Congeni is the spirit that lives inside that body. The body was just formed by matter. To the mother and the father came together in the act of sex. The father gave 23 chromosomes to the sperm. The mother gave 23 chromosomes to the egg. They created the car. And then Brother Congeni, the driver, entered into the car. So we arrived into the physical kingdom about 27,000 BC ago. But we did not even arrive at 27,000 BC because when we entered for the very first time into the physical body that we have today, we did not immediately know how to master this body, how to use it. I'll give you a good example. Brother Frederick, do you know how to drive?
Yes, I do, brother.
How long did it take you to learn how to drive, Brother Frederick?
I would say a few months.
How many? 6, 4, 3?
No, probably about 2 months to be comfortable in driving on the what we call here in America the expressway. It took me about a couple months. You know,
wow, so it took you about 2 months to learn how to drive. So it means if you were put, for example, suppose you never knew how to drive and you were put into the car to drive, would you create some accidents?
Yeah. Pretty sure of that.
So, Brother Frederick, so let me ask you a simple question. Do you think that when you arrived into the physical body for the first time, immediately you knew how to walk, you knew how to talk, you knew how to, name animals? Do you think that's logic, Brother Frederick?
Yes, that's logic.
Do you think that's logical?
Yes, it's very logical. I mean, unfortunately, I'm thinking more on a spiritual level because we came here fully knowledgeable. The things that how we activate the knowledge is the problem that a lot of our parents did not know how to do for the kids. And,
but let me ask you another question. Why doesn't your spiritual knowledge also apply when you're entering into the car? Why can't you just jump into the car and immediately know how to drive? What does it take you 2 months to learn how to drive, but you think that when you arrived into your physical body, the next day you named the animals, you knew how to walk, you knew how to stand upright? Is that logical?
From what I understand and do is that's the intelligence of knowledge. You have to learn things to
you have to learn. Right. Thank you so much for that, Brother Frederick. Let's have, for example, Miss Catherine. Miss Catherine, what are your thoughts? You think we arrived into the physical body the first time and we began to walk and we began to speak languages clearly? Or do you think it took us a time to master the physical body? Miss Catherine, what are your thoughts?
Well, in my thoughts are is that this is something that we are taught. You know, we learn how to, if we look at a baby, for instance, naturally they crawl and then they walk. And then, from the parents, they learn the language and whatever knowledge the parents have is passed on and things like that. I think the mistake that many of the people make is that we think that who we are is the actual physical body when it's
very interesting. Very, very interesting, Miss Catherine. Many people think that who we are is the physical body. That's a very good input, Miss Catherine. You're forgetting that we're actually spiritual beings. We're of a different dimension. We incarnate into a physical body. So it's not like how we are taught in Christianity that once Adam was made today, God breathed into his nostrils and the next day Adam was walking and naming animals. No, we have to stop this infancy way of thinking. I gave a good example, Brother Frederick. It takes you 2 months to learn how to drive with all your spirituality. 2 months to learn how to drive. But you think that when we arrived for the very first time into the physical universe that we are today, immediately the next day we could walk, we could name animals, we knew how to speak Swahili, we knew how to speak Hebrew, we knew how to speak. No. When we arrived for the very first time into the physical realm, it took us a long time for us to master our physical body, to develop languages, to organize ourselves, because it was not easy. We shall speak about this in depth, the entire process, because Charles Darwin explains it in the theory of evolution, even though he polluted it to say that we evolved up to the point of becoming white, which is wrong. But he started his research of evolution in the right way. But Luciferian principles entered into it, where he began to say that we evolved to become white. No. When we arrived for the very first time, it took us a long time to master the physical body. We began as an Australopithecus afarensis. We moved into a Homo habilis, and because of our vibration of our spiritual being, we felt like raising the body to stand upright. We became a Homo erectus, and then we evolved the body even more to become a Homo sapien. And when we arrived at this maturity of mastering our body, that is when we entered into the third dimension of choosing whether to follow the laws of God or not. And that was around 27,000 BC. And that is when the cosmic times began. So, looking at our presentation, you can see there, first civilization, we began our civilization 27,000 years ago in the heart of Africa. Look at the map. You can see over there, there's one map of the entire continents locked together. Because if you look at the continents, if you bring them together, they actually fit. It means in the beginning, they were not continents, they were compacted together. We are told that in the beginning, it was one large mass. So every human being was in the heart of Africa by the equator. Now, in our African ancestry, we are told about a catastrophe that happened that led to the destruction of the continental plates. In the Bible, it's really shady, but they speak about the Tower of Babel. But the Luciferian beings had to turn it into a story to say people were separated because they were building a tower up to the heavens, and then God confused their languages to separate them. No, it was very symbolic language to say that there was a time when people were together, and then there was so much ego. Remember, in the third dimension, you have to make a choice of good or evil. People began to choose egocentric behaviors that led to the tower. It means they were raising themselves to be gods. We began to think ourselves as being gods. We began to be egocentric. So because of breaking the laws that we did, it led to a catastrophe which divided the mass into the tectonic plates that you see today of the 5 continents. At first, it wasn't like that. So every human was by the equator. But when the tectonic plates divided, many of our brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters, were basically found in different places close to the ice wall. I know some people believe that the earth is round. We won't get into that debate, but I'll send you guys a video to see that there's profound proof that we live in a plane. We don't live in a globe. So at the end of the plane, there's an ice wall. So when the tectonic plates divided, it led into the division of the continents, and many of the land masses found themselves close to the ice wall, where there was so much ice, and it was very far from the equator, which was very hot. And from 20,000 BC, when this happened, up to around 15,000 BC, many of our brothers and sisters who were spread close to the ice wall, they began to lose their skin pigmentation. There are many stories which explains the origin of races. In the Congo ancestry, we are taught that our brothers and sisters lost their skin pigmentation. It means they lost the melanin. Melanin is a feature which is found on the body, which allows us to capture the energy of the sun, vitamin D, and break it down into proteins for our body. So melanin is very, very important because it allows us to capture the heat of the sun to use for our body metabolism. So when we're in the equator, it was very important for us to capture the maximum amount of sunlight. So the first people, science even says that Africa is the cradle of humankind. Why? Because they know that the first humans were in the land of Africa. So because of the tectonic plates dividing, many of our brothers and sisters were found close to the ice wall, leading to the skin degradation. They began to lose the melanin, but they were first of all black people. So there are many reasons people give for the appearance of different races. Some people say there's a loss of skin pigmentation. Some people say the Yakubi. There's a story of a Yakubi. I think many of you have heard about it. A guy who went away, he took some people, and then he began to create different races. There are many people who give different reasons, but I want you guys to exercise your own logic. Which of these stories is true? And we also have what we call, people say that in the beginning, there were all races were there in the beginning. There was no only black race. That's also up to you to arrive at your own conclusion. Some people say the white race, for example, came from a different space, a different planet, and they came to on the earth. People also believe this thing, that they came on spaceships to colonize the earth. But my dear brothers and sisters, unfortunately, let me let you know that the earth, as the way it is an enclosed system. Nothing from outside comes in. No, we live in a flat, in a globe. There's a diamond globe above us, a diamond globe above us, a diamond circle above us, which does not allow any mechanical thing to penetrate. It means if you want to penetrate into the earth, you can only do it by incarnation. And the spirit is at a different dimension. So it is not possible. And many of these planets, for example, they are 42, 43 light years away. There is no mechanic object which you can throw at 42 light years and it does not decompose. For example, 42 light years away, it means you have to fly an engine at 300,000 kilometers per hour to arrive, for example, in the constellation of Sirius, Kakongo. Now tell me, which engine, which mechanic engine can fly at 320,000 kilometers per hour? Because the fastest airplane on the earth flies at 14,000 kilometers per hour. So this idea of spaceships coming to the earth is absolutely fiction. First of all, how would they enter the dome? Because the dome is diamond, and not a diamond dome, nothing penetrates inside the dome except by incarnation. So you can do your own research on this to be able to understand some of these things. But in the Congo ancestry, we explain the appearance of races due to the skin pigmentation. And at the ends of the earth, we have what we call the ice wall. So the first civilization happened around 27,000 BC. And then at 20,000 BC, there was a great nuclear war symbolized in the Tower of Babel, and people were separated. It means the lands, the tectonic plates were separated. And then many of our brothers and sisters found themselves in the ends of the ice wall, and then they began to lose their skin pigmentation. Now, because many people were separated due to the division of the continents, we are told of a story of a great flood which happened around 15,000 BC. There was a great flood. The flood happened because by the time our brothers and sisters were spread across the entire globe, there was a civilization. There was a civilization that began called Atlantis. Atlantis was a location by the Bermuda Triangle, if I can recall. A civilization where they began to develop scientifically as well. It is told because Plato learned about Atlantis when he came to learn in Egypt. Our ancestors in Egypt told Plato about a city called Atlantis that was drowned because they were practicing some dangerous nuclear activities over there. Because we are told in Western education that Atlantis was a land of love and harmony. People used to live in love. I'm sure many of you have watched the movie Aquaman. It's a movie where they speak about Atlantis, but no, Atlantis was not the country of love as we are told. No. It first of all, it began as a place that was nice, but later on, their scientists and their priests began to manipulate the laws of creation, and it led to the drowning of Atlantis around close to 20 to 15,000 BC. Now, many of our ancestors were in the heart of Africa, as you can see on the screen, by Kachopa. So one of our leaders, Nimi Kongo, that people call Noah, he took his 3 children. We are told of the flood. Noah built a boat. It is true. He took his children after the flood of drowning Atlantis. He went up to Egypt because if you see the location of Egypt on the map here, it's much closer to all the other areas which were separated due to the tectonic plates dividing. So Noah went up to Egypt to build the Egyptian civilization that you see today with the pyramids and everything over there. So we built the Egyptian civilization, which lasted. The second civilization was Kingipiti in Egypt, 15,000 BC up to 2000 BC, the golden age. The greatest civilization in the history of humanity was in Egypt. People came from everywhere. People came from Greece. People came from Babylonian. People came from Persia to learn knowledge in Egypt. Many Greek philosophers came to Egypt to learn, like Pythagoras, Plato, all these amazing teachers that you know today. They came to learn in Egypt. They were taught knowledge in Egypt. So this was a strategy to take Noah to Egypt to allow other people who were spread across the entire globe to come to learn knowledge in Egypt. But you know, the Egyptian civilization lasted from 15,000 BC up to 2000 BC. And around 2000 BC, that is where there was a fall. A lot of problems began to occur because of the arrival of many foreigners, and the culture in Egypt began to change. So that is when there was a new pharaoh that came into Egypt that did not know the history of the Egyptians, and he began to mistreat them and put them into a slavery process. That is where Moshe or Moses took some of our brothers and sisters to leave Egypt to go back to Canaan, which is the heart of Africa. So on our journey back to Canaan, we began to construct so many civilizations on our journey because it was a great exile. If you read the Bible, they teach you of an exile. We are moving from this place to this place, moving to, and then all those were kingdoms that we were building on our way when we were going back to Canaan. So we began basically the exile around 1400 BC after the death of Pharaoh Kenatu, who was one of our last pharaoh who was really following the ways of God. We built the Carthage Empire, 650 BC up to around 146 BC. On our way back to Canaan, we built the Aksumut Empire, 180 to 960 AD. The Kingdom of Ghana, 700 AD to 1240 AD. The Mali Kingdom, 1230 AD to around 1670. The Songhai Empire, 1000 AD up to 1591 AD. These were the children of Israelites that were taken out of Egypt. Remember, we were spread across the entire Africa and from all the children of Israelites. So these are actually the children of Israel that were spread across the entire Africa. The Great Zimbabwe, you know, from 1220 AD up to 1450, the Kingdom of Mutapa, 1430 to 1760. These, you will not be taught these things in school. They don't want you to know this. They don't want your children to know this. If you go to school, in high school, they will teach you the United Nations, they will teach you World War I, World War II, they will teach you simple history. You even know the history of Europe. You won't even know how your ancestors built these great kingdoms. Yeah, Ms. Catherine, absolutely. The Bible is very similar to the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Absolutely. The Bible was actually constructed after studying the Egyptian Book of the Dead. We built the Ethiopian Empire. I think many of you know of this. 1137 AD to 1975, the Kingdom of the Congo, where I come from, 1390 AD to 1014 AD. The Benin Empire, 1180 AD to 1897. And finally, one of the last kingdoms we built was the Zulu Kingdom in South Africa, Azania, 1816 to 1897. You know of people like the Shaka Zulu over there. So this is our journey, my dear brothers and sisters, back to the heart of Africa. So, like I said, the Egyptian civilization came to an end around 2000 BC precisely, and Moses had to take people out. But we're going to study one of the important stories in Egypt of the Pharaoh Kenatu, one of the last pharaohs that was really following the ways of God in Egypt, Pharaoh Kenatu and his daughter Nefertiti. Excuse me. If you go in many Western scholars' books, they always put Nefertiti to be the wife of Pharaoh Kenatu. Why? Because when they go in the Egyptian temples, Egyptian pyramids, they tend to see Nefertiti with Pharaoh Kenatu always together. So many of them took this to say that, okay, she was his wife. No. Nefertiti had a very good relationship with her father because she believed in what her father believed in. You see, so she was always painted in the pyramids as if she's next to her father, and people think that she was his wife. No, Nefertiti was the daughter of Pharaoh Kenatu. Pharaoh Kenatu ruled from 1353 to 1336. Nefertiti was born in 1370. She died in 1340. Tutankhamun was born in 1341. She died at the age of 19 years old. I'm gonna speak to you about the story of Pharaoh Kenatu right now. But before that, I would like to ask a question to the audience. I see Emmanuel Jibodu has joined us. But Frederick Rush, why do you think the Egyptians built their pyramids with this dimension, with this geometry? Why did they build? Why didn't they build a square? Why did they build their pyramids triangular? Well, Frederick, any idea?
Sorry about that. I was playing with something. I really never really thought about, the whole concept of why they built the pyramids. From my understanding, it was like a burial thing. And it left it. I mean, a lot of knowledge that I'm starting to pick up. It left the Egyptians left a lot of knowledge that we have failed to realize that they actually left, for the simple fact that they conquered and they took our stuff. They took all our history. Because I just recently found out that back in the 1940s, during the World War II, that when they came to Egypt and they did these archaeological finds, they found a papyrus that was wrapped around one of the mummies. And come to find out, it was the Book of Abraham.
Wow.
Yes. I don't know if you guys in Africa know about that, but I just recently ran across this because I've been doing a lot of research on this.
Wow.
Choose
Very
language,
interesting.
religions.
Very interesting, Brother Frederick. Wow, thank you for
Yes.
that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Brother Konjeni, what are your thoughts? Why do you think the Egyptians built their pyramids? They built the pyramids in this shape. Brother Konjeni, what are your thoughts? Brother Konjeni, you there? Okay, let's have Brother Zivai. Yes, Brother Konjeni. Yes.
Hi, yeah. Sorry, I'm sitting a bit rural, so my connection is not that good. So I zone in and out every now and then. From what I've learned is that I believe that these pyramids are all aligned to particular star constellations, if I'm not wrong. And I think, I'm not sure. That's all I know about them. I'm not well read in Egyptology, so
Wow.
I wouldn't have an idea of exactly what is what. All I do know is that I hear that the capstones of the pyramids are all missing, which makes me wonder why.
Wow, very interesting,
Perhaps
Brother
you can
Konjeni.
fill me in on that. Yeah.
Very interesting. I can see in our YouTube live, Brother Lebo Matamani has said, I think it is through the three dimension to connect with the water, the air, and the soil, the trio of nature, which then escalate to high level of spirituality with nature. Very interesting, Brother Lebo Matami. I would love if you join us on the Zoom and also give your input on that. Miss Catherine, what are your thoughts? Why the triangular shape, Miss Catherine?
Well, I personally believe that it's looking at everything. The triangle is basically pointing up to the universe, which is everything. And if we look at this is my opinion, and when I see it currently, the system that we are currently in, many of the times one can see the shape of the triangle pointing down, which obviously represents something that's not part of us.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's how I see it.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Miss Catherine. Well, Emmanuel Jibodu has joined us just now. Well, Emmanuel Jibodu, what are your thoughts? Emmanuel Jibodu. All right, let's have Mandisi Sanda. Mandisi, what are your thoughts? Yeah, Emmanuel, yes. Yes, Emmanuel. We can hear you. If you can try to maybe go out and come back in. Mandisi Sanda, what are your thoughts? Mandisi.
I really don't know what was the main cause of building this pyramid. I just
Thank you
want
so
to
much for
know
that.
more about them.
Wonderful. What about you, Brother Jesse? Brother Jesse, what are your thoughts?
For what I know, inside the pyramids, there is a structure that is built perfectly to align to the stars. So
great.
The pharaoh that was buried inside, the soul of the spirit of the pharaoh will be directly sent to that star, if I'm not mistaken. So the whole meaning of the pyramids is to send the soul of the pharaoh to the star and to the afterward. And also
very interesting.
It was also used to harvest energy, as the point of the pyramid was made of gold. The gold would harvest the other system that will harvest energy from the sun. This is what I know.
Wow, very interesting. Very interesting, Brother Jesse. Thank you for that. Miss Catherine says in the chat, a triangle represents manifestation, enlightenment, revelation, and a higher perspective. Wow, very, very interesting. It is often used to the cycles of growth that lead to a higher state of being. Absolutely amazing, Miss Catherine. Bari Makumbuli, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to add on what the other people have already alluded to, I think when you look at our history as the chosen people, God, there was always some signs or symbols that were characterizing every activity that we do. So I think regarding the pyramid, it is in the three shape. I think it symbolizes that the way we run our society, the way the society used to be run, back then, and it was supposed to be a continuity. There was supposed to have a priest, and those are the people that connect, that get information from the creator.
Wow.
Then they pass down that information to the governors or the kings.
Wow.
After the king, then they implement that information with the scientists who were responsible for actually implementing the social and economic changes in society.
Wow, absolutely amazing, by Makumbuli. That is
I think.
Yes.
I think just to add on, I think this is the one missing link that we have in our society today. We find the leaders that are governing this world at the moment. There is no connection between them and the Creator.
Hallelujah.
So they are running the world according to their intellectual capacity. But when you look at our history, you cannot govern people minus getting in touch with the Creator. It's impossible.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Buddy Makumbuli. Maybe we can have Brother Zivai. Brother Zivai, and then we can move on.
Thank you. I think the shape was an issue of distributing the weight evenly. I think it made more sense for the base to have the most weight, and as you go up, the weight becomes lighter. So I think there was that consideration. However, I think if I'm to quote another source that I came across sometime, they were mentioning something like the people the Egyptians worshipped a god called Ra, something like that, who was a sun god. So it was said that the pyramid was meant to symbolize the rays of the sun, something like that.
Very interesting.
The Story of Elizabeth by Zola Bantu, Episode 1, Department of Genie Creators of Humans. Location, Astral World, Sector 7. The leader entity of Sector 7 approaches Sector 7 Human Lab Room. Entity A and B responsible of the lab immediately stand up to greet him. Entity A says,
"Zola, sir."
Entity B says,
Zola, sir.
Leader entity stands at the center of the lab office by the map of the dome. Entity A and B join him.
Zola, everyone. All right, so what do we have for today?
Sir, preparation for the departure of Spirit, number 896, Miss Elizabeth for the 600th reincarnation to Earth.
Image of Spirit 896 appears digitally on the screen for all to see.
600th reincarnation, you say?
Yes, sir.
All right. Walk me through her life. Put her up on the screen.
Coming right up, sir.
Elizabeth's life appears on the screen. Entity B speaks.
Her previous recent reincarnation name was Naomi. Next reincarnation name to be updated, but so far she has reincarnated 599 times, 300 in the black race, 200 in the mixed race, 99 times in the Caucasian race. Her previous reincarnation as Naomi was in the black race. She was vibrating in the third dimension at the time of death.
Wait a minute. 599 reincarnations, and she's still in the third dimension?
Yes, sir.
These spirits don't want to learn. They keep coming back and going back.
According to the law, sir, they can't rise in such low frequencies.
Yes, sir. Karmic body percentage charge 33% of previous life.
What charges exactly?
Very stubborn personality. Pleasures of the flesh, materialism, disobedience, and hate. Ignoring her purpose, abortion, etc.
You are quite right. Sadly, the earth is decomposing. Proceed. Wait, slow down. She's been blocking other spirits from having a life experience?
Yeah, if you look at the edges of the pyramid, they look like rays from a central point. So for them, it said that it was symbolizing their god Ra. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Brother Zibai. Thank you so much, everyone, for their input as well. Well, the pyramids, like you said, many of you have said it correctly. The shape as well, it also has significance. And even the alignment to the star. I think the star that Brother Jason was referring to is the star Sirius, Canis Major, Kakungo. Most of the pyramids are aligned to the Sirius constellation of Sirius, Canis Major. That's true. And also, it was also a tomb, yes. It was a significance in the way that it was sending the souls of the pharaohs back to where they came from. Very symbolic as well. And I would like to touch on what Badai Makumbuli raised, because that is where the Congo ancestry explains to us in depth the meaning of the pyramid. So you can see the pyramid basically is triangular in shape. Why? Because in the Egyptian civilization, they basically was basically founded on three major principles. In Kikongo we say Nzaku mpamvu nzinga, makaku matatu malemba kungu. The three pillars of spirituality are love, purity, and justice, which is symbolized as priests, the judges, and the scientists. The Egyptian society was divided into three classes. We had the priests, we had the judges, and we had the scientists. The priests were the ones that was connecting the society to the creator. The judges were the ones that was governing the land. They're also called the blacksmith. And then the scientists were the execution. They were the ones that was executing in the society. So every occupation was divided under these principles. So suppose you're a psychologist, it means you're a priest. Suppose you are a doctor, it means you're a priest. You are connecting, you're treating with the man directly. Suppose you're an interior designer, you're a scientist, it means you are trying to understand the natural order to be able to implement it in a society. If, for example, you were a policeman, it means you're a judge. You're under the principle of governing. Minister, mayor, president, they were all in the branch of judges. Engineer, civil engineer, chemical engineer, painter, artist, they were in the branch of the scientist. Priest, a teacher, a lawyer. Any activity that involves dealing with man personally are the priest. So these were the principles of Egypt. This is what symbolized the pyramid. Makaku matatu, malemba Congo. Many of you come from Africa, you'll notice that when a mother wants to cook ugali or fufu, she will place 3 stones and a pot on top. The 3 stones are the 3 pillars, the priest, the scientist, and the governor. It means for any society to function, there needs to be a harmonic correlation between these 3 principles. There needs to be a balance between these 3 principles. So the priests were the ones that was the most important people in Egypt, because they're the ones that was connecting the spiritual and the physical. That is why the top of the pyramid represents the priest. So if you look at the illustration, Elohim, it means God the creator. So Elohim, God the creator, is in the divine kingdom. He sends information to Ra or Re. Ra or Re was basically a totem or the mediator between the physical and the spiritual. One day I will teach you about the story of Lucifer, because Ra or Re is what the Bible calls Lucifer. In the Congo ancestry is what we call Ne Mbumba Loa. In the beginning, the light of Lucifer, or the light of Re, was not a light of destruction. At first, he was the one who was connecting the physical and the spiritual. I gave Brother Frederick a good example. When you're learning how to drive a car, you don't jump into the car yourself. You go into a car learning school. Someone sits by the passenger seat and is teaching you how to drive. So that period of evolution of humanity from South Africa, the Forensics, to Homo sapien, we did not do it alone. They were basically spiritual guides that was helping us in this process to arrive at spiritual maturity. So Ra or Re, Lucifer or Nembumba Loa, was the one that was helping humanity in this evolution process. So Ra or Re was the mediator between the creator and the physical kingdom. That is why Brother Zivai is saying that the Egyptians used to worship a god of the sun, Ra. That's symbolic. It meant they were receiving information and instructions from Ra. So they will receive the priest will receive the information from Ra, and then the priest will pass that information to the judges and the scientists. And then the judges and the scientists will give the information to the people. This is how the Egyptian society worked. Look at the word Israel. Isis, Ra, and Elohim. Isis is the feminine entity. It gets married to Horus, the masculine entity. And then the two of them have to become an Osiris. So Ra was the mediator between Isis and Elohim. That's where the name Israel comes from. It's Isis, Ra, and Elohim. So this is how the pyramid worked in Egypt. It means in Egypt, if you were a scientist, you could not make an atomic bomb. Why? Because the priest will cancel it. Because if you design a bomb in your lab, you have to take it to the priest for approval. If the priest says, no, this principle of an atomic bomb does not respect the laws of creation, does not respect the laws of nature, this will not go through. Suppose you were a car designer, you design the car that runs on petrol. We know that petrol, when it burns, combustion, it releases carbon monoxide, which is dangerous for the atmosphere. So no person could design a car working on petrol, polluting the environment back in the days in Egypt. Why? Because everything has to pass by the priest. The priest checks your invention. Anything that you do, the priest checks it in regard to the spiritual laws and natural laws, if it's in harmony. If not, it will not go through. So our Egyptian brothers and sisters were not stupid. They could not, it's not that they never had the knowledge to make cars or how to make aeroplanes and how to make metros. No, because they believed and followed the instructions of the priest who was connected to the creator. You understand? So a scientist could not go in the lab and modify seeds, GMO, to feed people and see how he can boost his invention of KFC and McDonald's. No, those kind of invention would not pass through. Yes, we rode on chariots and horses because we prefer to use natural elements, not to destroy our physical world. But today, the pyramid is invaded. The priests are below. And first of all, the priests are also disconnected from the creator, and the scientists and the governors have polluted the world. So we have to restore these three principles in the heart of Africa. These are the principles that will drive, these are the principles that will drive the reign of 1,000 years. Yes, Brother Zivai, Father is called Ra or Re. Absolutely, Brother Zivai. So what happened, my dear brothers and sisters, to these three principles? You all know in the story, we are told in the Bible that Lucifer was cast down from heaven, even though those are crazy stories. What happened is that, you know, if you're driving a car with your driving license teacher on your side, he begins to give you bad principles on how to drive. He's teaching you the wrong way how to drive. Then that teacher becomes a problem. So the Ra or Re that was basically helping us to run the physical world in the right way, he began to teach us the wrong principles. And because of that, Ra or Re was disconnected from Elohim. So what happened? Because Ra or Re was disconnected from Elohim, the priests continued to rely on the radiation from Ra, but not knowing that the radiation from Ra was no longer coming from Elohim. Ra himself began to produce his own radiation and give it to the priest. So because there was no connection with the spiritual kingdom anymore, Ra began to tell the priests to kill animals, and then from the killing of animals, that energy of killing an animal, that is what will appease our creator. Look at the game of energies here. This is energies. So Ra used to receive energies from Elohim and pass to the priest. But now, since Ra no longer has connection with Elohim, he begins to tell the priest, kill an animal, and then God will be able to forgive you. That's why you see in the Bible, you see there's so much introduction of killing of animals for sacrifices everywhere. If you sinned, if you raped someone, or maybe you killed somebody, just bring a goat to the priest, and the priest will kill the goat, and that blood will spoil on the altar, and God's anger is appeased. Those were Luciferian principles of Ra, not connected to Elohim, was introduced in the society. So the priests began to take human sacrifices. It even went worse to taking human sacrifices. Why would God, ask yourself logically, why would God kill an innocent animal for your sins? You went out and did stupidity, and God kills an innocent dove to forgive your sin. You see, it's not logical. Those were Luciferian principles. The God who was telling the Israelites to kill animals for sins, appeasement, it was not God the creator, it was Lucifer, Ra. So you're asking yourself, why did they introduce this in the Bible, in the Old Testament? They introduced this to introduce the biggest deception in the history of humanity, that God sent his son to die for humanity on the cross to save our sins. See how this game plays here. Because if you believe in sending sacrifices in the Old Testament for your sins, You can easily accept that Jesus died for you on the cross. Easily. They even say he is the lamb that take away the sins of man. See the stupidity. See the ultimate stupidity that entered into society. We began to kill animals for sacrifices. And the Christians use this killing of animals in the Old Testament, Luciferian practices, and say Jesus, God sent his son Jesus or Yeshua to die on the cross. But Master Yeshua was assassinated, just like Lumumba was assassinated, just like Magufuli was assassinated. Anybody who tries to wake up the conscience of people is assassinated by Luciferian beings. But it does not mean that Jesus Christ died for you on the cross to take away your sins, because those were justifications put in the scriptures to back up the killing of animals in the Old Testament. See the biggest strike of the Luciferian beings. It's a disaster. So, getting back to the story of Pharaoh Kenatu, how does Pharaoh Kenatu enter into this equation, my dear brothers and sisters? Pharaoh Kenatu began to notice that because Pharaoh Kenatu, remember, in the pyramid, Pharaoh Kenatu is in the judges. The priest was there, the high priest was there. Pharaoh Kenatu is the Pharaoh. It means he's the governor. It means he takes information from the priest and then he passes to the society. You see? So Pharaoh Kenatu was a blacksmith. So what happened? He began to notice that the energies that was coming from the high priest was no longer connected to God the Creator. Hallelujah. He noticed this, that the high priest was deceiving the people. So what did he do? He wanted to move away from these practices of Luciferian practices of Ra or Re. He wanted to move away from it. So he began to change the systems in Egypt to remove all these Luciferian practices of the priest and try to replace the evil priest with the good priest. And a time came where he began to, but he made a mistake, because back in the days, they used to, kingdoms would marry each other, children and daughters, for alliances. So for this particular cause, Pharaoh Kenatu made a big mistake. He married a wife from Babylon. You know, the king of Babylon gave a princess that Pharaoh Kenatu got married to. And from this relationship that Pharaoh Kenatu had with the princess of Babylon, they had two daughters. One daughter's name was Neferetiti, and the other daughter's name I don't recall at the moment, but I'll definitely tell you in another lecture. So Kenatu had two daughters with a Babylonian woman. Some people say the last sister's name was Cleopatra, but we won't get into that. So Pharaoh Kenatu married a princess of Babylon. He had two daughters, Nefertiti and her younger sister. Nefertiti believed in what the father was doing in Egypt by restoring the principles of God. But the mother, who was a Babylonian, you know, those people were actually already on the other side. They worship the other energy of Re. So the younger sister of Nefertiti was much closer to the mother. Look at the game. Nefertiti is closer to her father, Kenatu. The younger sister is closer to her mother. The younger sister of Nefertiti ends up marrying another prince of Babylon. And from that union of marrying another prince of Babylon, they had a son by the name of Tutankhamun. So Tutankhamun is born in 1341, who is the grandson of Pharaoh Kenatu. Listen to the story carefully. Pharaoh Kenatu marries a princess of Babylon and has two daughters. One daughter's name is Nefertiti, and her younger sister. Her younger sister marries a prince of Babylon, and from that union, they have a child by the name of Tutankhamun. Now, the queen, the wife of Kenatu, tried to use this union of her daughter with the prince of Babylon as a way to come and overthrow Pharaoh Kenatu. And the biggest complot, it actually worked. The prince of Babylon with his entire kingdom came to overthrow Egypt. And unfortunately, Pharaoh Kenatu was murdered. You know, it was a complot with even the other high priests who were still who were being punished by Kenatu for bringing Luciferian practices. They collaborated with the wife of Kenatu and the prince of Babylon, who married Kenatu's granddaughter, Kenatu's daughter. They killed Pharaoh Kenatu, and they took Nefertiti, Pharaoh Kenatu's daughter. They put her underground in the house, in below the palace, and they stabbed her to death. She died underground with no food and no water. Now, this prince of Babylon who came to invade Egypt, for him to become the Pharaoh in Egypt, because Kenatu is dead, obviously it was Tutankhamun who had to become the Pharaoh. This prince of Babylon, my dear brothers and sisters, you'll be shocked, kills his own child Tutankhamun to become the Pharaoh in Egypt. He kills his own child Tutankhamun, who was at the age of 19. He killed him so he can become a Pharaoh in Egypt. Look at this disaster. A new Pharaoh comes in Egypt who is not an Egyptian. And then, my dear brothers and sisters, you know the story spoken in the Bible that a new Pharaoh came in Egypt who did not know about the Israelites. And Moses was now forced to take the people out of Egypt to Canaan. This is how the fall of Egypt came into place, because there was new rulers that came on Egypt. Pharaoh Kenatu was trying to oppose the principle of evil in Egypt, was assassinated. His own daughter Nefertiti was starved to death. His own grandson was killed by his own father to become the Pharaoh in Egypt. So this is the story of Pharaoh Kenatu, my dear brothers and sisters. And from this death of Pharaoh Kenatu around 1400 BC, that is how the children of Israelite had to leave Egypt and take on the long journey that is mentioned in the Bible of the exile of over 1,000 years that I spoke to you. The exile from Egypt, the 12 tribes left Egypt to go back to the heart of Africa. And on our way, after leaving Egypt, we built the kingdoms of Carthage Empire, Aksumite Empire, the Kingdom of Ghana, the Mali Kingdom, the Songhai Empire, the Great Zimbabwe, the Kingdom of Mutapa, the Ethiopian Empire. You know, we built so many kingdoms when we were coming back to the heart of Africa, which is Canaan. So Canaan is actually the heart of Africa, the area around Congo, Angola, Congo, Brazzaville. We built the Kingdom of Congo in 1390. You know about the story of Congo. One day we shall speak about each of these kingdoms in details. Who were the leaders? How was it constructed? We'll go into depth. We built the Benin Empire, 1180 AD to 1887, and then the Zulu Kingdom, 1816 to 1897. So we arrived in the heart of Africa, Canaan, around 690 AD. And then we began to rebuild ourselves in these kingdoms that you're seeing right now. But unfortunately, you know the story that these people came again in the 14th century to colonize our ancestors. So they read in the scriptures, they knew where we went. They followed us by map. Diego Cao came by design. He knew where he was going to look for the lost tribes of Israel, because they had gone to a land flowing with milk and honey, a very, very rich land. So they had to come and take it. So they came in 1492. You know what happened. The first time Diego Cao arrived in Congo, he was received by our ancestors. We fed him, we treated him nicely. What did he do? He took 3,000 Africans on the boat with him back to Portugal. And these Africans were educated. I mean, they were very smart in engineering and many, many fields. They are the ones that began to participate and contribute to the elevation of the automobile industry and many inventions that you see in Europe. The ideas of these Africans that were taken by Diego Cao. And those Africans were brainwashed in Portugal. And then after, because he came in 1482, he took the 3,000 Africans back to Portugal, and then he came back with them in 1885. They were completely whitewashed in their brain. And they're the ones that became priests. They divided these 3,000 people into two categories. They even put their name in the Bible, Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is not one person. No, Adam, it means administration, and Eve means evangelism. So they divided these three people into, others were in the administration field, others were evangelists, became priests, and they began to corrupt the nation. And they removed our spirituality, and they brought religion. So this is the story. We shall speak about it one day. But this is the story, my dear brothers and sisters, of Pharaoh Kenatu. and Nefertiti, who were trying to restore the principle of the true principle of worship in Egypt, but unfortunately, it did not work. Pharaoh Kenatu was assassinated. And in our next session, we shall speak about how to get out of the cases, because you need to understand what are cases. You know, I told you that once you arrive at maturity, at the age of 14, in the third dimension, you have to make a choice whether you want to follow the laws of God or not. But when you decide to do the negative, you begin to build karmas on your life. But when you obey the laws of God, you bring upon blessings upon your life. So the actions that we took in Egypt, we began to do so many idol worship and so many things we're doing, breaking the laws of creation. It created karmas on our lives. And you know, the curses can follow you up to the fourth and the fifth, up to the fourth and fifth generation. You know, if you do something bad now, don't think that because you're going to die, then you leave others in misery. No, you come back and reap your karmas. So a curse can follow you even up to the fourth and the fifth generation. You see, so we came back to the heart of Africa with a lot of cases that we did, evil things that we did in Egypt, and those cases followed us up to the heart of Africa, even leading to the domination of other nations over us. So we lost our way before our Creator, and we got into so many practices which was not right, because we used to wear clothes in Egypt. We had clothes. We were very civilized in Egypt. But when the white people came in the heart of Africa, they said that they found us in the bush with no clothes. It's because we were being chased everywhere, we were being killed for 1,000 years of exile. They found us with the pygmies in the heart of Africa. We even lacked clothes to wear. It's not because we were not civilized. Our ancestors are the ones that built the pyramids and everything. You see? So all these cases came upon us. It means what we did followed us. All the actions and thoughts and energies that we produced that were negative came back against us, and we that were the first in humanity, we became the last. And we have lost our way spiritually. We have lost our way intellectually also. The Western civilization, they lost their way spiritually, but they have tried to develop themselves intellectually. That's why you see all this, their developments in Europe, they're just phantoms, works of phantoms, intellectual, which is materialistic. But we built kingdoms that were spiritual, you know. We built kingdoms that were in harmony with nature, my dear brothers and sisters. So that brings us to the end of our session today on the story of Nefertiti and Pharaoh Kenatu. You can review it again to be able to know more on it, and watch the video again on our YouTube page. And we love you so much as Zola Bantu. So I'd like to take your inputs, and then we'll come to the end of our session for today. Let's start with Brother Paolo. Brother Jesse, what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think first of all I want to thank you, and well, I learned a lot, and also I want to add that if you can, we can all go back to spiritually, mentally, to the position our ancestors were. Most of our problems we solve easily. But if we still hang to the European and Western mindset that they gave us, we will never go forward. We will always stay at the bottom. So we need to go back and learn the ways of our ancestors. This is all I have to say.
Thank you so much for that, Brother Jesse. I would like to ask Brother Mandisa Sanda to write his email address on the chat, and so we can be able to be in touch with you. I can see Terry has joined us. Put your email address or phone number so we can be in touch with you. Yes, let's have Wale Makumbuli. What are your thoughts?
I would just, thank first of all, I would like to thank you for the great efforts that you are actually doing and encourage all the classmates that are actually on this class, not to relent, not to like get tired. Let's keep on learning, and let's keep on encouraging one another. Let's keep on sharing. Let's get in touch, until we form that galaxy, that web that will be like a spider, whereby we can try and tap many people into this awakening, so that at least this light can reach as far as we cannot imagine.
Oh, thank you so much for that, brother Ibrahima. Brother Makumbuli, thank you. Let's have Brother Mandisi Sanda. Brother Mandisi.
So we should go back to the ways of our great grandfathers, the ways that they were doing things. Maybe we could be a better world if we can do the same things that they were doing in olden days. I mean, to love each other.
Yes.
Run away in these xenophobic things that we see each and every day. Remember, we belong together.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Brother Mandisi. Thank you. Brother Konjeni. Brother Konjeni.
Yes. I am actually blown away from your lecture today, because you've filled in a lot of gaps, and you made me understand exactly where we came from and how we arrived at where we are today. Most of us being mostly second or third generation Christians have only known the story that we've been told. And I, for one, have always realized that there's always been something lacking. The story was just never complete. It never made sense. But the way you've explained it today actually makes 100%, and it makes and brings a lot of things into perspective. I will definitely be joining you on more of your lectures, because I see that there's a lot to learn here. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Brother Konjeni. We'll have others soon. I can see on the YouTube video, YouTube live, Mezezi Ntinu Nketo says, Nkembo Nusikamene away Siemi Ingeta. He says, powerful information. Thank you. Blessing. Thank you so much, Miezi. Arke Boba says that I see you do reference the Bible, but then expose the alien that is in it. Should people still read the Bible? But Arke Boba, the Bible is actually a story of Black people, but it was manipulated in the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Constantinople. We have books on this. You can be able to go and read and see exactly how they fabricated, manipulated the Bible to further confuse the people of God not to understand their own writings of their ancestors. So many of the names was changed. Like, for example, Nimi Congo, they called him Noah. Yesu, they called him Jesus. Kulu Isamusi, they called him John the Baptist. Yohani, they called him John. Massa, they called him Moses. The children of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, their names were actually Zolanga and Gulendo. So they took many of our writings, they basically manipulated it to further confuse us further. So it is not by avoiding the writings. You have to be able to read the Bible so you can catch the thief in what he stole. Mugimbangu tells us, read this Bible carefully to catch the thief with what he stole. For example, when I'm reading the Bible, I read it with a red pen. And I'm telling you, sometimes when I finish Revelation, I can remove even 40% of the pages because they are lies. So many lies have been added in the Bible. So if you have a garden in your house and all of a sudden the weeds are growing in your garden, it does not mean that you should burn your garden and sabotage your garden. No, you have to go in the garden, be able to identify the weeds and unpluck them. So the Bible is a story of Black people manipulated. Many weeds have been planted in the Bible, so many weeds. With the parable of the weeds that Master Yeshua spoke about. A farmer goes out, he plants a garden, and in the night, the time of the spices, the evil one came and planted his own weeds in the garden. So the garden of God is what? The world that we live in today. There are weeds in this world, and there are also children of God in this world. But in this time of Aquarius, they are separating the weeds from the wheat. Miezin Tinun came to say, is the book Egyptian Book of the Dead, is that a good book to read, and would it be accurate? Well, you have to, in everything there is some false and some truths. You have to have the spirit of discernment. One principle I can give you is try to use logic when referring to the things of God. If something does not look logical to you, just know, no, there's a problem here. It is not logical. It's not logical that I have to go to school for 4 years to get a degree in engineering, but for me to go to heaven, just kneel down and believe in someone who died for you on the cross and your ticket for heaven is found. It's absolutely nonsense. So if things are not logical, try to question it. So read the Bible, question everything. Everything is debatable in the Bible. We are told in the Bibles, for example, that Adam and Eve had a child, Cain and Abel. And then Cain went away and married women. Where did those women come from? So you have to ask yourself a question. So is that true or not? But you can see that the Bible is very symbolic because they coded it very symbolic to make us even more distracted. You know, Cain and Abel, it says that Cain killed Abel, but no, Cain and Abel, no, that are symbolic languages. Cain is your physical body and Abel is your intuition, your spiritual body. So when we say Cain killed Abel, it means your intellect took over your intuition. Yeah? It means you are now a driver as a prisoner in your own car, and the car has become a driverless car. That's what had happened in the world. So there was no a Cain and Abel that existed. No, those were symbolic languages. There was no an Adam and Eve that existed. Those were symbolic languages. Adamic and Eve civilization. There were a lot of people in the beginning. A lot of people were created at the same time when God said, "Let there be light." We all came out of the spiritual kingdom and incarnated the animal flesh. Everybody came in for the first time. There's no one man and one woman. We all came from one man, because that scripture of coming from one man and one woman, or one man sinned, it came to justify that another person could die and save everybody. No, to be saved, it's your own personal experience. It is your spiritual journey. You have to fight for your salvation individually. Nothing like someone's death somewhere saved you. No. So read the book of the dead, of Egyptian Book of the Dead, with an eye of discernment, with knowledge. Read it with a red pen. Anything that does not look logical, don't believe it. Even the Bible, read it with a red pen. Anything that does not sound logical, don't believe it. Look at, for example, the text that says the Israelites were moving from one place to the other and then killing everybody they found on the road. When they go to this town, they will enter, kill everybody. Is that logical? Can God tell Ramaphosa in South Africa, okay, I'm taking you to Egypt. On your way to Egypt, every kingdom that you find over there, kill them. So Ramaphosa takes the South African army, he enters into Zambia, he kills everybody, he takes the women, gives his men, enters into Tanzania, kills everybody. You see, that's not logical. Can God kill people like that? God in the Bible is depicted as a killer. Those are Luciferian principles that we put in the Bible. So you have to have that discernment to discern. A lot of weeds has been planted into God's word. That's my answer to you, RK Boba. Thank you so much, Miezi. Miss Catherine View John, thank you for joining us for this long. Miss Catherine, what are your thoughts, Miss Catherine?
I absolutely loved today's lesson. I also learned, I've learned a lot. It made me also question a lot of things that I've come to understand in my life as well. And I think this is something that I wish everybody could actually have a listen to this lecture, because there is a lot to learn and a lot to understand. And, you know, one can feel that it's the truth. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Catherine, for that. Brother Terence Terry has joined us. Welcome. Would you like to say something, Terence? Terence Terry. Let's have Zivai Chisiki. Brother Zivai, say something before we end our session for today. Brother Zivai.
Oh, thank you for the very insightful lessons that you shared today. it sparked a lot of interest, particularly in the illustration that's on your screen there. However, it also left me with a lot of questions that I would say are contradictory to my knowledge. For example, Elohim, my understanding is he has been, let me say, he has been, it's a plural. So, and then Ra, from the initial illustration before the one where the priests are sacrificing, there was an illustration where Ra was yes, that one. And then so Ra was in the chain. And now my understanding of Ra is an idol that's worshipped by the Egyptians or the ancient Egyptians.
Yes.
So according to this teaching of today, Ra actually was an essential or a very critical component of the whole structure up to the people. So I think I'm now understanding where the corruption or where the tampering was done. And so the contempt perhaps that I was giving to anything related to Ra, I think now I'm still conflicted on whether to now begin to appreciate who Ra was or is, and his role is. Yeah, so
that's a very important input that you have made, and brother Zivai, you're from South Africa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Suppose President Ramaphosa appoints Brother Zivai to go and create a new city somewhere in South Africa that will bring that some South Africans will be sent over there to learn, maybe for an internship. You, Brother Zivai, you go to that city, you build it, you prepare the city, and everything is done well under the instructions of Ramaphosa. And then the city is ready, everything is fine. What do? Now Ramaphosa sends some South Africans to go and live in that city. Now you are the one that know the city because you built it. You are the one that will be reporting to Ramaphosa how the citizens are performing in that city. They'll be reporting to you. So you will be getting information from Ramaphosa, and you'll be giving the information to the people. You see? So it came to a point where Lucifer began to say, okay, I built this city by myself here. Why should I allow these children just to be free and what they want? Let me just take over. So he began to mistreat the children that Ramaphosa sends to that new city. He began to take himself as a god. You see, he began to get all the worship. He began to introduce new systems of worship to get the energies directed to him. You see, so because of this, Ramaphosa hears about this information, and then he sends one of the leader of his army, Nefonika Yanzambi, that the European call Michael, to go to that city and remove Barazivai from there, because Barazivai all of a sudden has taken the city to be his. So they remove you from there. So normally, if you remove someone from their post of employment, what happens? You have to put a new person to take on the job. So there is a new mediator that can connect you to the Elohim, and it's not Lucifer anymore, because Lucifer is no longer Lucifer; he has become Satan. The name Lucifer was actually a good name in the beginning because he was a mediator, but he was removed from his post of work together with his agents, because when Ramaphosa sends you to build a new city, you don't go alone. They give you some people who can work under you, that you'll be given the instructions to. You see, so some people that were working under you rebelled with you and we chased away from your post of position. Now, from time to time, because of the stupidity of humanity through our sexual relationships, we tend to bring back those agents that we cast out with Lucifer back into the world, and they are the ones that rule the world today. They are the ones that basically are leaders in the 13 big families in the world. They are the ones that are the leaders of finance in the world, leaders of medicine. They are the ones who are polluting the universe. So in spiritual awakening, awakening of the conscious, we shall speak in depth of how did they come into the world, how do we allow them to come into the world, and how have they taken over. They are the weeds that Master Yeshua speaks about in the parable of the weeds that was planted in the garden. So it's because of our own stupidity that we open the doors, the ovaries of our mothers to receive these Luciferian, Nephilim, Greco-Roman, reptilian beings into humanity, and they have turned us all into slaves. You see, so sometimes it's difficult, but it's very like how you said. Ramaphosa can remove you from your post of work. He has removed you, has put someone new. But the people who are in the city, in the village, many of them would not know, okay, that there's a new leader who has been replaced. They are continuing to pray to the person who they know. You see, sometimes when you remove a governor from his position, some people in the village do not know that the governor has been replaced. They continue to channel their energies to the wrong place. You see, Brazivai, I hope I've been able to clarify a bit on that. Brazivai, if you have anything you want to say before we close.
Yeah, you've clarified it. It's so clear now. And thank you very much for that. It was quite an insightful lesson today. I learned quite a lot. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So all of these teachings are found on our YouTube page. Check out Life 101. We speak about these things. Spiritual awakening, awakening of the conscience. We speak about these things. So as we move on with the classes, we shall speak about these things because time is up. Time is up. The time of Aquarius is coming to an end, and we barely have 400 years to fix our lives before the reign of 1,000 years begins. So if we want to, they now want to clean up the world to prepare the way for the Elohim himself to come and be king and reign with humanity for 1,000 years. So they will remove the principle of evil, the ideas that Ra left, because people think Lucifer is in the world. No, Lucifer is an entity. You know, he's locked up. Bible says he's locked up in abysms. All his angels are locked up in the lower astral world. No one comes out from that prison. But the ideas that he left in the universe since he was chased out is what is put the world in so much a mess. So those ideas are being removed from the earth, and the earth is being cleaned up. And in about 400 years' time, the earth will be completely cleaned up from all these principles of Lucifer, and then we'll enter into the reign of 1,000 years. And the Bible says that the dragon was locked up for 1,000 years. This is in Revelation, say it plainly. He was locked up for 1,000 years to allow people to breathe. They have to remove these weeds from the garden. If not, we cannot breathe. You go to work, your boss wants corruption. You go here, there are so many weeds in the world, you cannot breathe. They have polluted science, they have polluted money, they have polluted finance, they have polluted the environment, they have polluted marriage, they have polluted purity, and they have polluted our women today on Instagram, twerking and whatever. They have polluted the men who have become lazy. So the weeds have destroyed God's garden, but they have to be removed to prepare for the reign of 1,000 years. So thank you everyone for, yes, they print money out of thin air. Absolutely. Money is a scam. The 13 big families they print money in their backyard. So you have to work as a slave for $15 an hour a month, but they can print money in their house for free. Why? Because they're the ones that run the world at the moment. But we shall speak more in depth on this in Spiritual Awakening and Wake Up for the Conscience. How can you leave the third dimension? Movies like The Matrix, that is a documentary. They're telling you exactly how they have you in their hands. They have locked you in the matrix, created a world of illusion where you exist. But the real world, you don't exist in the real world of living as a free. Freedom is not to do what you want. Freedom is to obey the laws of God. So have an amazing week, everybody. Thank you, Brother Frederick. Until we see you next time in our next class, which will speak about how to get out of this position of the cases. 5 strategies we have to regain: the food control, education, army, restoration of the African woman, and then we also have the spiritual strategy as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week ahead. Try to live in love, live in purity, and live in justice. Treat everybody fair, and fight the kingdom of darkness with light. You can't fight the devil using devilish techniques. You cannot create a bomb to fight a person who has made a bomb. It's a waste of time. You only have to use the kingdom of darkness cannot fight the kingdom of darkness. So have a beautiful week. Masindi, Masanda, thank you. Brother Makumbuli, Brother Frederick, Miss Catherine, thank you for joining us. Konjeni, Brother Jesse, Mr. Ndai, Brother Terence, thank you for joining us as well. And Zivai Chisike, please go through the other lectures, class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very important. We have a Zola Bantu class group. We have 9 people. If you'd like to be part of our class, get in touch with us, but you have to watch the other lectures and be able to answer a few questions. And then we can add you to our group. Thank you so much, Brother Makumbuli, Brother Zivai Chisike. Have a beautiful week ahead. And please vibrate in love, purity, and justice. Zulangangu lendo, nsakumpambu nzinga. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
The Story of Elizabeth by Zola Bantu, Episode 1, Department of Genie Creators of Humans. Location, Astral World, Sector 7. The leader entity of Sector 7 approaches Sector 7 Human Lab Room. Entity A and B responsible of the lab immediately stand up to greet him. Entity A says,
"Zola, sir."
Entity B says,
Zola, sir.
Leader entity stands at the center of the lab office by the map of the dome. Entity A and B join him.
Zola, everyone. All right, so what do we have for today?
Sir, preparation for the departure of spirit, number 896, Miss Elizabeth for the 600th reincarnation to Earth.
Image of Spirit 896 appears digitally on the screen for all to see.
600th reincarnation, you say?
Yes, sir.
All right. Walk me through her life. Put her up on the screen.
Coming right up, sir.
Elizabeth's life appears on the screen. Entity B speaks.
Her previous recent reincarnation name was Naomi. Next reincarnation name to be updated, but so far she has reincarnated 599 times, 300 in the black race, 200 in the mixed race, 99 times in the Caucasian race. Her previous reincarnation as Naomi was in the black race. She was vibrating in the third dimension at the time of death.
Wait a minute. 599 reincarnations and she's still in the third dimension?
Yes, sir.
These spirits don't want to learn. They keep coming back and going back.
According to the law, sir, they can't rise in such low frequencies.
Yes, sir. Karmic body percentage charge 33% of previous life.
What charges exactly?
Very stubborn personality. Pleasures of the flesh, materialism, disobedience, and hate. Ignoring her purpose, abortion, etc.
You are quite right. Sadly, the earth is decomposing. Proceed. Wait, slow down. She's been blocking other spirits from having a life experience?
Oh, Bonimino. Hey, hey.
tangoza na bomo tangu makasi eza na nzoto yebisa fami tolingaka bango liboso bawa yebisa boyoyo bokumisaka ye kisa lolango na yo kozela te bakufa o esimo ya kotanda mosolo kozela te bakoma na bokono olakisa lolango na yo oh, oh, oh. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, 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 yo. Tangoza na bomoy lakisa bango motindokani yolingaka bango yolelaka motema baoyo betelaka tolo yebisa bango boye
Chimukunanga bikolabe
oh
nakupenda mumezolange fami nalingi bino
Kulanga
yo 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 yo
kozela te bakoma na bokono polakisa lolango na yo kozela te bawa sima otanda wolo na lilita yango wana lelo yebisa bango boye
chimukunanga bikolabe
oh yo ye ye minanga
nakupenda
ayo
mumezolange fami nalingi bino chimukunanga bikolabe nakupenda mumezolange fami nalingi bino
Mendibe
tangwango yo yakolakisa lolango kozela te bakende na paradiso kozela te babunga na lifelo tango zana bomo elakisa yebisa lolango na yo yebisa bango
chimukunanga bikolabe
oh, oh.
nakupenda
aye mizolange fami nalingi bino chimukunanga bikolabe
nakupenda
oma mizolange fami nalingi bino
chimukunanga bikolabe
mama memo nakupenda we